shall we begin?
Let the games begin.
All right.
A new age has begun. An age of freedom.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Get to the chopper!
This is going to be quite a ride.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian. Thank you very much for joining me on the podcast this week. This is Movie Pit Podcast, where we talk about all of the big breaking movie news items of the week. Let's talk about trailers. I almost forgot I was going to say that for a second. And we'll talk about, not that I do this spiel all the time, and we also talk about the movies that are coming out in theaters and streaming on your favorite streaming services this weekend for all your viewing pleasures. So this week we have we got some news. A lot of it's kind of pretty much self-explanatory. I feel like these last few weeks, every movie news item that has come out, I mean, there's, some that we can really dig into, but I always feel like now there's like new movie news items that are so self-explanatory. There's really no reason for me to do the podcast because they're just so, other than, giving my opinions, but and if you come to the podcast to listen to my opinions, then thank you very much. But I feel like a lot of the movie news items that have come out recently, and especially these last few weeks, have all been kind of self-explanatory. I don't know if it's maybe because Hollywood's kind of anticipating the Delta variant to take effect again of the Hollywood industry, stopping productions and stuff like that all over again. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, and if you listen to this podcast long enough, you know how pessimistic I can be sometimes. But we'll go with what we are given. So we're gonna talk about a few movie news items that came out after the podcast came out last week that I really want to talk about, or that at least I want to mention, because I do feel like that we would have talked about them if the podcast had come out, or if they had come out before I released the podcast. So the first movie news item that came out after the podcast came out last week is the new Spawn movie. If you're interested in the Spawn movie, is back in the news because Brian Tucker, the writer of Broken City, that's the movie with Mark Wahlberg and Russell Crowe, has been hired to write the new script for the movie. Spawn will be released through Blumhouse, which means that Jason Blum will be producing, along with Spawn creator Todd McFarlane, who is also directing the movie himself. McFarlane actually wrote the first script himself as well, but now it looks like Blumhouse is coming in and being like, we need to hire someone else. This version of Spawn has been in the works since 2017. This movie's been in the works for a long time. And at the time, Jamie Foxx was attached to play Spawn, and then later, probably want to say the next year, or maybe 2019, somewhere around there, Jeremy Renner was cast to play Detective Twitch, which is a character from the comics. However, that was back then, and insiders are reporting that both can be reapproached after the new script is by Tucker is done. So it sounds like maybe they're no longer on board, or they weren't officially on board at some point. But regardless of that, Tucker is also writing the remake of The Fugitive over at Warner Brothers. But it is kind of telling that Blumhouse, Tom McFarlane made this big deal about if there was going to be a new Spawn movie and anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him, because at least if it's not good, then he can blame it on himself. And I love that approach. I really do. At the same time, Tom McFarlane, not a movie director, not a movie writer. He does a lot of stuff for comics, and comics is a different medium than movies. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I not recently, but last year. It was last year. I rewatched Spawn, and I remember loving Spawn as a kid. I think I just liked the idea of Spawn. I think Spawn was one of those characters. Like, as a kid, it's like, he's one of those mature characters. Like, yeah, you just really like the guy, and he's a cool character. He is. He is a very cool character. And whatever you think of Tom McFarlane himself, his creation of Spawn is probably one of his most well-known things, and one of the more popular of the indie comic book scene. That's not Marvel or DC or anything like that. So I used to love that movie as a kid, and then I rewatched it, like I said, last year, and it's not great. I'll just say that it's not great. But yeah, there you go. There's a little update on Spawn. Moving on from Spawn to something else that a lot of people really love, My Hero Academia, the popular and successful manga and anime series. Live action movie is happening, and it's found its director in Shinsuke Sato. I think that's how you pronounce, or Sato. It's probably Sato. Shinsuke Sato. Sato is actually well known for his anime live action movies. He's directed the live action adaptations of The Princess Blade, Gantz, I think that's how you pronounce it, I Am Hero, Kingdom, and Death Note. But he also wrote the screenplay for the adaptation of the live action Bleach. And he wrote and directed the Netflix series Alice in Borderland, which is very, very popular. I've heard it was very good. And that actually got renewed for a second season 2 weeks after the release of the first season. So he's obviously very well known and very you can handle the anime concept itself into a live action medium. My Hero Academia will be Sato's first English language adaptation, though, so that will be interesting to see. The anime and manga, for those not in the know, it is a world overpopulated by superheroes and follows a young boy. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because I will definitely get that wrong, who doesn't have any powers but still dreams of becoming a hero. This hurts his chances of getting into the UA, which is a superhero academy, obviously My Hero Academia, and becoming the next All Might, which is the greatest hero in the world has ever known. From what I understand, the main character actually has a meeting with the current All Might, which just, propels him to try to make that dream all the more possible. The anime is currently in its 5th season and has 3 spin-off feature animated movies that were all major box office hits in Japan. So obviously that movie is going to be very locked on. All eyes are going to be on that movie by a lot of fans. It's in my queue. I haven't watched it yet. I apologize. It's there. I want to watch it. It's right next to Attack on Titan, which I know all of you are screaming at me now, but it's there. I will watch it. Just give me time. Relax.
Come on!
Moving on. Let's move on before you all start coming through the screen and beating the crap on me. Let's move on to the last movie news item that came out after the podcast went up. And this literally went up right as I think the podcast went through and it just hit all the platforms. Deadline broke the news that Emma Stone will be returning for the already announced sequel to Cruella. The movie came out earlier this year on Disney Plus and theaters, reportedly making $21 million on the streaming service before going on to gross more than $220 million worldwide. It's unclear right now whether the movie will be made exclusively for theaters, Disney Plus, or will once again go by the date release, as I like to call it, or as I like to call it here on the podcast, the hybrid release, just because it's a lot more easier to say and more quicker to say. Writer Tony McNamara and director Craig Gillespie were already announced to be coming back, so they're already back in trance, but now they have Stone set to come back. I'm sure Disney will want to get this thing going as soon as possible. Now, it's going to be hard to talk about Stone's signing without, of course, talking about the ongoing lawsuit between Disney and Scarlett Johansson, which, by the way, congratulations to Scarlett Johansson. I guess she just had her second kid, so kudos to her. There were rumors, I should say, that Stone and her team were considering, and I say considering very, very strongly, taking legal action, obviously following in Johansson's suit because of the release of Disney Plus for Black Widow, but that obviously didn't happen, and there was clearly talk between Stone, her team, and Disney before Stone signed on for the sequel, because Stone's longtime agent, Patrick Whitesell, who doesn't really speak to the press at all, specifically him. It feels like specifically he doesn't talk to press. And I'm sure a lot of agents don't necessarily talk to the press either. That's why a lot of actors have publicists. But agents usually don't talk to the press. But Whitesell did. And I want to read his comment because I felt like his comment was very well thought out and said, and I'm going to butcher it by stuttering through the whole thing like I always tend to do. But I'm going to try my best here. So here's what he said, which I think was very well said, and it's actually, it hits every point that it needs to hit, especially considering everything that we know going on right now. So he says, quote, while the media landscape has been disrupted in a meaningful way, I already started up. Let me start all over again. While the media landscape has been disrupted in a meaningful way for all distributors, their creative partners cannot be left on the sidelines to carry a disproportionate amount of the downside without a potential for upside. This agreement demonstrates that there can be an equitable path forward that protects artists and aligns studios' interest with talent. We are proud to work alongside Emma and Disney and appreciate the studio's willingness to recognize her contributions as a creative partner. We are hopeful that we will open the door for more members of the creative community to participate in the success of the new platforms. So that was his quote. So it does sound like there was a deal in place that will include, or there's a stipulation of some sort that will guarantee that Emma Stone, in writing legally, that if, God forbid, there's another pandemic whenever Cruella 2 comes out, that if it does end up, if the studio decides to go and do this day and date / hybrid release of Cruella 2 to the to Disney Plus, the streaming platform Disney Plus, and theaters, that it's in the contract that she will maybe get some Disney Plus money, which at the end of the day, that is exactly what Johansson is fighting for, not the fact that Disney just, did a hybrid release. She, I'm not going to get into the whole what did I just say? I'm not going to get into the whole mess of all that, but it does sound like they did work something out where if that happens, Disney won't have to, be the public ire of a lot of people's tweets. So there you go. Main headline here, Emma Stone's coming about for Cruella. I haven't seen it yet. I still haven't gotten a chance to see it yet, and I apologize for that. But I know there's a very mixed reaction to it. I know there's a lot of people out there who really liked it, and there's a lot of people out there who didn't like it, that kind of felt that it was unnecessary. While they loved Emma Stone in it, they just felt the whole overall thing was just, it wasn't necessary at all. And when the sequel was announced, there was people that were excited and there was people that weren't excited. So I don't know. I don't know. I can't really make a fair assumption from my own personal opinion because I haven't seen the movie yet. So, but I like Emma Stone. I do. Was I looking forward to Cruella? No, not that much. I gotta admit, not that much. But I am gonna watch it. I will sit down and watch it one day, hopefully before the end of the year. So I can probably talk about it at the end of the year for the movies that came out this year, but getting ahead of myself on that. All right, so those are the movies those are the movie items that came out after the podcast came out last week. Let us move on to this week's movie news items, and we're going to start off like we always do with trailer talk.
Coming soon to theaters.
All right, so we have one trailer that came out, at least at the time of this recording. And I am recording this a little earlier than I usually do, because I might not have time to do anything last minute wise for the podcast. But as of this recording, there's only one big trailer that came out this week, and that is the trailer for Marvel's Eternals. And it is definitely a good trailer. It has definitely sold the idea of who and what the Eternals are. And the main question that everyone has, besides, making, the obvious question, why wasn't this the first trailer? So for those still not in the know what the Eternals are, like I said, the trailer does a very good job of explaining what they are. But it follows a group of immortals who have come and lived on Earth, and they've lived on Earth for thousands of years. I think they said it was like 7,000 years in the trailer. And they live amongst the humans who they've grown to love and admire and everything else. And they will protect them against their oldest enemy, the Eternals' oldest enemy, the Deviants. Now, as the trailer puts it, with all the energy that has been released on Earth because of the Infinity Stones being used, which they do mention in Endgame at the beginning, Earth is the target of something called the Emergence. Now, we don't know what the Emergence is. Maybe maybe it's something from the comics. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm a huge Eternals fan. I don't know who the Eternals are. Not really. I've been doing my catch up on who the Eternals are since the movie was announced, but I'm not, I'm not deep into the Eternals lore as everyone else is, or some other people are. So the Emergence, and it's bringing the Deviants to Earth, or maybe unleashing them from Earth. Who knows? We do see something crash on Earth, so presumably that's the Deviants coming to Earth. Now the Eternals have to find each other because they're not around each other. They band together and stop the Deviants from destroying everything in their way. That's pretty much the basic setup of what this movie is. We do see, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, Isan, the Searcher, He's a celestial being. We saw a glimpse of him in the explanation of the Collector from Guardians of the Galaxy. He's the one that's using the Power Stone on people. So he is in Eternals, or at least maybe, the thing that holds them, all together, or brought them and made them, because it has been revealed why the Eternals did not interfere during the Thanos attacks. That's something that we will find out in the movie. We don't know if they were blimped away. We don't know what's going on, but we will get an explanation as to why the Eternals, who we know are supposed to be protecting, Earth and humans and everything else, and why they didn't interfere, why they didn't, help the Avengers out, why they didn't, stop Thanos if they could. Because presumably, I'm going to say they probably can't stop Thanos if they really wanted to, but we'll get that. And that comes, the line of why that comes from, I believe it's Kit Harington's character. And Kit Harington himself his character is not an Eternal. He's actually a human. He does turn into a character called Black Knight from the comics, but it looks like he's human in the movie, at least, right now. And he's the one that questions Gemma Chan's character, who is one of the Eternals. I forgot to write down her character's name, but she is one of the Eternals. Why they didn't interfere. And his character and her character are actually involved in a love triangle, because Gemma Chan's character is in love with Richard Mann's character. And obviously they're not together because, like I mentioned, the Eternals kind of all split apart, and it looks like they went to their, own corners of the world. And now I guess they'll probably, at some point, get together and we'll have an awkward scene. Who knows? But this is a very impressive cast overall. Like I mentioned, Gemma Chan, Richard Madden, Kit Harington, Kumail Nanjiani, some new unknowns or people who are not as familiar household names, Lauren Ridloff, Leo McHugh, Don Lee, which if you watched, I almost said, what did I say, Prisoners? Train to Busan. I was thinking of something else completely. Don't ask me what I was thinking about, because I don't even know. Train to Busan, he plays the husband, not the main husband, the other husband, the big guy. He's in there. Barry Cohagen is in there. Brian Tyree Henry is also in there. Salma Hayek, of course, and of course Angelina Jolie. It's directed by Chloe Zhao, who of course directed Nomadland, which won her the Oscar, and she has that nice little Academy Award winning director label up on her name when they mention her name in the trailer, which is really cool. But this looks visually Eternals looks amazing, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned that when we got the first trailer that was released. Visually, Eternals looks amazing. Just the shots themselves, just knowing the fact that Chloe Zhao fought for filming on location. Yeah, they're going to use CGI, but for the most part, they shot on location of all these scenes. So if there's a scene in the forest, they're really in that forest, the mountainside, the oceans, that broad open space wherever Salma Hayek's character is, unless she's living in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. They were really there. So obviously they're going to use CGI and stuff, but they were really there, and I think that's going to add to the reason why this movie will be so visually stunning, like it is in the trailers. Because overall, that is what it is. It does look like it's going to be really heavy. It's going to be really deep. In lore and probably in telling, it's very, we got those religious overtones of, the earth being destroyed in 7 days and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I wasn't completely sold on Eternal. I mean, obviously I was going to go see it. I'm a nerd. I love these Marvel movies. I've watched all of them more than once. I'm going to go watch it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is not good for me. No, that's not who I am. That is not who I am. I want to go watch it, and I hope that it will win over people who who are on the fence about it. And I think this trailer probably will do that. Obviously, everyone's gonna just focus on why didn't they get involved. That's gonna be the thing they're gonna be focusing on. But give the movie a shot. You may like it. Who knows? So I'm looking forward to it. So Eternals comes out on November 5th. I really don't have that much to say. Other than it is visually stunning, it has won me over. I probably have to dig a little bit more deeper into the trailer than most people, but for the immediate reaction of what this trailer is, it's awesome. I like it. It's great. It's a great trailer. Can't wait for the movie. Let's go. And now we wait for the trailer that everyone has been clamoring for, that everyone's been asking to a mind-numbing degree on Twitter, and that is the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, which everyone is, trying to get out. All right, moving on. That's the trailer. That's only the really big trailer that has come out that at least that I've noticed. So if I missed something, I apologize. Although I usually don't miss stuff, but if I missed any trailer, I apologize, and I'm sure you guys will let me know. But Eternals is obviously the big trailer of the week. Again, at least the time of recording right here. All right, let us move on to the movie news items of the week. All right, so I got some quick-fire movie news items for you guys. Like I mentioned, for anyone new to the podcast, quick-fire is usually very self-explanatory movie news items that I really don't need to go in that deep into, but they're also movie news items that I want to mention because I know there's probably someone out there who actually cares about these movie news items. This sounds very demeaning, and now me it to sound as demeaning as it did. Let's just move on. Let's just get into it. First, quickfire movie news item is the release date for Fast and the Furious 10 will now be April 7th, 2023. Justin Lin will return to direct, and we can assume that the core cast will also return, but when it comes to story, we still don't know anything. Again, main story here, Fast and Furious 10, April 7th, 2023. The sequel to Netflix's Murder Mystery is officially happening, and it has a director in Jeremy Garlick, who directed The Wedding Ringer and Hulu's The Binge. He will direct the movie. He didn't direct the first one, so he's taking over directing the sequel. He actually also did a polish of the script. Not only that, Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston are expected to reprise their roles. They are not officially on board, but they are expected to sign their new deals for that. Sony Pictures Animation and Amazon are nearing a deal for over $100 million for Hotel Transylvania Transformania. Yes, that's what the movie's called. To stream globally on Prime Video. The fourth Hotel Transylvania movie has been pretty good for the studio, with all three films grossing a reported $1.3 billion. Yes, that's billion with a B. In theaters, last week was announced that Sony was considering their option of the animated movie after the delay of Venom Let There Be Carnage to October. This isn't the first movie, I should say, they sold off either. They sold Fatherhood, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, and Vivo to Netflix, all of which are already out there if you want to go give all those a watch. They also sold Cinderella to Prime Video, and last year they sold An American Pickle to HBO Max and Greyhound to Apple TV+. So now it looks like the fourth Hotel Transylvania can be seen from the comfort of your own home, so you don't have to risk your kids getting COVID at the movie theater, which obviously is the thing that parents are very concerned about. Moving on. Sterling K. Brown and Randall Park are teaming for an untitled action comedy at Amazon Studios. Speaking about Amazon, the project is being described as being in the vein of 48 Hours, which is the 1982 cop movie with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte, in case you need a reminder of what that is. This untitled movie centers on two estranged childhood best friends who now find themselves on opposite sides of the law, although we don't know which one will be a cop and which one will be a criminal. Framed and on the run, the two must survive each other long enough to clear their names and stop an international criminal enterprise, I should say. Alex C., I think that's how you pronounce his last name, the co-creator of the Hulu series Wu-Tang and An American Saga, will write the script for the movie, although no director is attached at the moment. I like Randall Park. I think a lot of other people also like Randall Park, and Sterling K. Brown, also very good. So I think we're in for another one. I think we're in for another one, for a good one. I don't know why I said another one. We're in for a good one. Mark Wahlberg and Kevin Hart. Moving on. Let's just move on. Mark Wahlberg and Kevin Hart are set to star and lead the Netflix film Me Time from writer-director John Hamburg, who wrote Kevin Hart's movie Night School, which came out a few years ago. Not that bad. Not that bad of a movie. Hart will play a stay-at-home dad who finds himself with some, quote, me time for the first time in years while his wife and kids are away. He winds up reconnecting with his former best friend, played by Mark Wahlberg, for a wild weekend that nearly upends his life. All right. This will be the first time the two work together, which I think would be pretty cool. Wahlberg, of course, has worked with Will Ferrell on multiple occasions for the Daddy's Home movies and for the other guys, so it'll be interesting to see him pair up with another comedian. Of course, Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart worked together on Get Hard, and that was okay. I only mentioned Get Hard because it's been on TV a lot recently. But anyway, moving on. Scarlett Johansson, which we talked about earlier, a little bit, sort of, pseudo. Scarlett Johansson, Bryan Cranston, Hope Davis, Liv Schreiber, and Jeffrey Wright have all joined the cast of Wes Anderson's new film, which is currently filming in Spain and is still untitled. Plot details are currently under wraps, but she is now joining, or they are all joining, I should say. And because Scarlett Johansson was the first person to join the movie, and then as the week went on, more people kept joining on. So they are now all joining. Adam Brody, Bill Murray, Jason Schwartzman, Rupert Friend, Margot Robbie, Tilda Swinton, and Tom Hanks, who are all now part of the movie. Of course, a lot of these people have already worked with Wes Anderson. Johansson worked with Anderson, did her voice. She did a voice for Isle of Dogs. I believe Liv Schreiber also did a voice for Isle of Dogs, as did Bryan Cranston. And I think Liv Schreiber is also in his new movie, Wes Anderson's new movie, The French Dispatch, coming out later this year. So, obviously, he is very well known for working with the same people. Obviously, Bill Murray, Jason Schwartzman, Tilda Swinton, obviously all those people he's worked with before. So, this is pretty cool. I like Wes Anderson. I know Wes Anderson has a very particular taste. Audiences have a very particular taste. So, but I like Wes Anderson. I'm looking forward to The French Dispatch, wherever and whenever that ends up coming. I think it does have a release date. I'm just saying whenever. I think what I meant to say is wherever it comes out. I don't know if it's coming out on like a limited release in theaters and then coming out later. We'll see. Anyway, moving on to the last quick-fire movie news item. Denis Villeneuve, the director of Dune, has revealed that to Games Radar that he is writing the script for Dune 2. Villeneuve has admitted in the past the scope of the story for Frank Herbert's sci-fi epic is too big for just one movie and needed to be told in two parts, something that Legendary and Warner Brothers were apparently okay with, and he wouldn't have signed on if he couldn't do two movies. All that said, Dune 2 is still not even greenlit, so he's writing a script that could end up, at the end of the day, be for nothing, because the sequel has not been greenlit by the studio at all, and the first Dune hasn't even come out yet. But it was also revealed that the sequel, if it were to happen, will focus on Zendaya's character instead of Timothée Chalamet's character, who was, of course, the focus of the first movie of Dune that will come out. I believe it's next month. No, it's November. Sorry. November, right? It kept getting moved around. I forgot when it came out. I didn't write it down either. But yeah, it's coming out soon. It's coming out within the next 3 months. I know that for sure. But yeah, I don't know. And I know Denis Villeneuve, or Denis Villeneuve, however you want to say his name, because I've heard it pronounced multiple different ways. I know he's still very upset about the movie being released in theaters and on HBO Max, because I think he released another statement saying he compared it. I just saw the headline. I didn't read the story because I kind of saw it in passing. But I saw the headline that he was still comparing the release of Dune to HBO Max and theaters the same day as riding a speedboat in a bathtub. So he's still very pissed about Warner Brothers releasing the movie like that. But I don't blame him. You know, Denis Villeneuve is a very cinematic director, and I don't think that his movies, I mean, you look at Blade Runner 2049, yeah, you can watch that at home, but nothing beats watching those visuals in the way that he intended that movie to be. That movie was intended to be seen on the big screen, at least for the first time. You had that. You had Arrival, which also benefited from, seeing it on a big screen. How dare I even say Sicario, which I love Sicario, and I think a lot of people forgot that he directed Sicario. I would say that even that benefits from being seen for the first time on the big screen. And I need to watch Sicario again. I've been meaning to watch that. Anyway, get out of here, inner monologue. But yeah, I don't know. All this is good and all, and I get it. And I get his frustration. I think a lot of people get his frustration. But at the same time, focusing on the news, sequel hasn't been greenlit yet. And I don't know if maybe even will. I don't blame him, because I think maybe where he's coming from is also that he knows what the business is. He knows what studio's a business. Hollywood's a business. At the end of the day, you need to make money. And if you have your movie coming out on two different platforms, in theaters and at home, and people are worried about watching a movie in a movie theater because of COVID and the Delta variant and numbers going up and people not being vaccinated, you're going to choose to watch it at home, even though, you forego the pleasure of watching a movie that you wanted to watch in theater and you're going to watch it at home. And that sucks. And I know that sucks. So, yeah. I feel for the guy. But yeah, there you go. All right. Those are all your quick-fire movie news items. Let us move on to the big movie news items of the week. And again, considering that I'm recording this a little early, there's only 3 big movie news items of the week. But let's get to it. All right, so the first big movie news item of the week is that Anthony Mackie has closed his deal to return and star in Captain America 4. If you've seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you know why that is. Just saying. Malcolm Spellman is writing the script. He wrote the series Falcon and the Winter Soldier, along with Dallin Musa, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I apologize if that's not how you pronounce it. He's also worked on the series. He's also coming back and on board to produce. And I don't know if he's actually writing the script. There was a news story that I read that sounded like he was also writing the script, but it also said producer next to his name, so he's probably producing, just the way they kind of worded it in the news story. But he's also on board. There's no director yet attached. That is for sure. There is still no director attached to Captain America 4. Deadline broke the news of Mackie's signing on, but they also reported that it's unclear at the moment if Sebastian Stan will return as Bucky, aka the Winter Soldier. Obviously, I think they're just making that assumption because of how the TV series is. Although not having him back in Captain America 4 would be kind of, it would be kind of messed up. Just saying. I'm excited. Obviously, you can't have a Captain America movie without Captain America. So I think it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to come back, but he's still seeing him, come back officially is very nice to see. So there you go. Moving on, we do have another Marvel news story, but I'm going to save that for the last one. So I'm going to break that up here with this one. Amazon and Blumhouse have announced their new slate of Welcome to Blumhouse movies. They're kind of their anthology, their 4-part anthology they actually did last year. They're doing it again this year. Those movies will come out October. 2 of them will come out October 1st, and the other 2 will come out on October 8th. The 4 new movies are called Bingo Hell, Black as Night, Madres, and The Manor. Bingo Hell is a thriller in which a feisty senior citizen fights to protect her beloved neighborhood from an evil force that has taken over the local bingo hall and is killing the residents in gruesome ways. Yes, you heard me right. A feisty senior citizen. So yeah, you got old people fighting demons. Or, whatever it is. This is directed by Gigi Saul Guerrero, who directed episodes of Into the Dark and the Purge series. I haven't watched either one. I hear very good things from Into the Dark series, which I also believe is anthologies. But there you go. Just the synopsis alone: a feisty senior citizen fights to protect her beloved neighborhood from an evil force. I'm down with that. Black as Night features a teenage girl driven by revenge who, alongside her trusted friends, spends her summers battling vampires, terrorizing her city of New Orleans. That's always cool. Blumhouse and vampires, I'm down with that. Madres follows a Mexican-American couple expecting their first child who moved to a migrant farming community in 1970s California where strange symptoms and terrifying visions threaten their new family. That's going to be creepy. Just tell you that right now. If you're getting into Mexican folklore, that's going to be creepy. And finally, The Manor focuses on Judith Albright, who, after suffering a mild stroke, reluctantly moves into a historical nursing home where she becomes convinced a supernatural force is killing the residents. So that is directed by Axel Caroline, who directed a segment in Tales of Halloween. She also directed an episode, of different series like The Haunting of Bell Manor, Creepshow, and American Horror Story. So you can expect some creepy things out of that one, I suppose. So yeah, I haven't watched the 4 Blumhouse movies, the original Welcome to Blumhouse series. I was actually really excited about those 4 movies, and I just never got around to watching them. I don't think I've actually heard anybody say anything about the movies, to be completely honest. I know people watch them because, they came out around Halloween, so obviously they wanted to watch something, but I haven't actually heard any reactions from those movies. They look pretty good. I'm not going to sit here and say they didn't look pretty good. So I've got to go back and watch those because I was very interested in it. And I love Blumhouse. Blumhouse is one of my favorite studios that's out there right now because I just love their kind of whole idea of modest budget, thrillers and horrors and and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with this. I got to go back and watch those original 4, or the first 4, I should say, before I even watch these. But these sound pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie. The vampire one definitely has my interest. The Mexican American one, obviously, because you know. And then that bingo hell one. That just sounds. It sounds like it's gonna be maybe a little wacky. Not too wacky where it's making fun of itself, but I'm down for that one. All right. Moving on to the last movie news item. Again, at least at the time of this recording, and this is pretty big, because this kind of just dropped right before I started recording. This Marvel's Kevin Feige has confirmed that Black Panther's Wakanda Forever will feature and introduce the character of Riri Williams, aka Ironheart, who in the comics is Tony Stark's successor and has herself her own Iron Man suit, her own suit of armor. I shouldn't say Iron Man suit because it's an Ironheart suit. This is important for 2 reasons. 1, the sequel is currently filming in Atlanta, so there is that. And 2, there will be an Ironheart series, so the sequel will be a nice lead up to the Disney Plus series that eventually will come out. And yes, there is an actress playing Ironheart already. We don't talk about TV stuff here on the podcast, but there is an actress attached. Her name is Dominique Thorne. She was in If Beale Street Could Talk and Judas and the Black Messiah. I don't believe she was a main character in either one of those. So I wouldn't be able to recall who she was. But all that said, it will be interesting to see how they introduce Riri Williams, especially considering that in the comics, her story is so connected to Tony Stark because she, like I mentioned, is his successor, and Tony Stark kind of just gives her the permission to become the next armored hero out into the world. So obviously we know Tony isn't around in the MCU anymore, so maybe her story is connected to Black Panther, maybe even Shuri, because obviously I think Shuri shares a little bit of, that Riri Williams type of energy. Or maybe it could be a surprise flashback cameo of Robert Downey Jr. as Tony. Although I would hate to say it, because even though it would be cool, I'd hate to say it, but it'd be kind of lazy if they did that, because we've never seen Tony interact with anybody else. We've never seen Tony interact with Riri Williams or even mentioned her at all. And it would just kind of be forced and, in there. And I don't know, that probably wouldn't be right to introduce a character like her like that. Maybe that's just me. Who knows? We don't even know. That said, we don't even know how big her role will be. She can literally be in one scene in the movie, or have just a mention in it, or she can have a scene or scenes similar to what Tom Holland's Peter Parker had in Civil War, where she shows up, she has maybe 5-10 minutes of screen time, and then, she's off, and there's a post-credit scene of her leading into, the Ironheart series or something like that. Regardless of anything I just said, I think it's still pretty that they're adding her into the series, into the movies, because I've seen people's reactions already online, and thankfully a lot of it has been pretty positive, at least from what I was able to see quickly before I started recording. So good move on you, Marvel, for that. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how they introduce her character and how her character fits into the world, considering, obviously her story might change a little bit. Maybe she is inspired by Tony Stark in general. Maybe Tony Stark is still part of her story, just not the way it was in the comics, which is fine, really. Because, obviously the movies and the comics, 2 very different mediums, 2 different universes, and all that stuff. So I'm just interested in seeing how they bring her character to life in the MCU. I think that'd be pretty cool. So like I mentioned, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is currently filming, and it does have a release date of July 8th of next year. The Ironheart series will actually start filming soon, because she's going to film her stuff for Black Panther and then directly go into filming the Ironheart series, which I think is really cool. So she's going to be very busy for the foreseeable future, especially considering that she is very young. The character herself is, I think she was a teenager, maybe preteen. I can't remember exactly. I'm not the biggest reader of the Ironheart series. I will admit that. But yeah, it's still pretty cool, regardless of that. No release date yet for the Ironheart series, but it's coming. It's coming. She's filming it. So that's pretty cool. All right. That is all that I have for movie news-wise. Let us move on to the movies coming out in theaters this weekend and streaming services for your viewing pleasures.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right, so let's start off with streaming. We have one that I know is going to streaming, and it's coming out on Netflix. It's called Sweet Girl. It stars Jason Momoa. He plays a husband who vows to bring justice to the people responsible for his wife's death while protecting her, the only family he has left, which is his daughter, played by Isabella Merced. This is kind of focusing a little bit on the pharmaceutical side of things because it seems like the pharmaceutical company that could have saved his wife from dying jacked up the prices, and obviously he wants to, see what's going on, get behind it, and then he discovers a conspiracy, and it looks like they're after him, and he has to defend himself. Yeah, so that's kind of what that's what's going on. But it looks fine. It looks okay. I'm not gonna bash on it or anything like that. So it should be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. I'll probably watch it. I probably won't watch it this weekend, but I will watch it because from the trailers it does look pretty good. All right, moving on. I believe this is coming out in theaters and VOD as well. It's for all you youngins out there who have children who, want to pass the time. Paw Patrol, the movie, is coming out. If you're interested in that, or if your child's interested in that, if you want to put that on. I think it's coming out in theaters and Paramount Plus. Could be wrong about that. I know it's coming out. I don't watch it. I don't know. I don't have kids either, so. But if you have kids and they like Paw Patrol, there you go. But the other movie. The other movie coming out in theaters is Demonic. We talked about this a little bit. This is the new movie by Neil Blumkamp, who directed District 9 and Elysium and Chappie. This follows a young woman unleashing terrifying demons when supernatural forces at the root of a decades-old rift between her and her mother are ruthlessly revealed. It looks like there's this weird machine. The synopsis doesn't really give the trailer a lot of justice because in the trailer, it shows that her mother committed this horrible crime, and apparently now she's in this coma, and she's at this hospital or this company, and they're using like a program that connects her to her mother's mind, the young woman who connects to her mother's mind. She goes in there, and I guess something from that comes to our world and starts haunting her. It's something along those lines. This looks great, though. I like Neil Blomkamp. I like that he's, kind of going back to kind of his own his own filming thing. He's not connected to any major studio or anything like that with like Elysium and Chappie. He's kind of just going back old school for himself. He shot this movie during the pandemic, during COVID, that first initial year last year. He shot it in secret, so I'm looking forward to this when I finally, if and when I can finally get a chance to watch it. The next movie is The Night House. This is directed by David Bunkner. He directed Netflix's The Ritual. If any of you saw that or are familiar with that, he directed that, and follows a widow played by Rebecca Hall, who begins to uncover her recently deceased husband's disturbing secrets in a house he built for her by them, or house he built for them by the lake. There you go. I wrote that wrong in my outline, which messed me up. So the trailers for this, pretty creepy. It does look like there's maybe like a mirror world from the looks of it. Trailer-wise, that's kind of what it makes it look. I don't know. The trailer, it's kind of creepy, and there's some images in there that's just kind of disturbing. So there you go. There is that. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. I like Rebecca Hall. David Bunkner did a really great job with The Ritual. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does for this and any other future project that he does. So I've become a fan. The next movie is The Prodigy. This is directed by Martin Campbell, who directed GoldenEye, Casino Royale, Mask of Zorro, The Foreigner, the Jackie Chan movie, Pierce Brosnan. Excuse me. That was the last movie he directed. This follows a skilled contractor, skilled contract killer, played by, I wanted to specify what that meant for all of you, played by Mackie, who was on a mission for revenge when her mentor is killed and puts her up against an enigmatic killer. The co-stars Michael Keaton as that enigmatic killer. Robert Patrick's also in there. Samuel L. Jackson plays the mentor. I don't know. I don't know. I am very conflicted about this. I probably will end up watching it. I'm not gonna lie. I probably will end up watching this at some point. But I don't know. I don't know. There's something about it that's kind of throwing me off about it. The next movie is Flag Day. This is based on a true story and memoir. Sean Penn directs and stars in the movie as famed counterfeiter John Vogel, who tries to provide for his daughter and prove that he is a good father, along with some drama. This is going to be a very nice, heavy family drama from the looks of the trailer and stuff like that. Dylan Penn, the real-life daughter of Sean Penn, plays his movie daughter in the movie. So that's kind of interesting. It also co-stars Catherine Winnick. Josh Brolin's also in there. Eddie Marsan and Regina King, apparently, will star in the movie as well. I don't remember seeing Regina King in the trailers, so I don't know where she pops up. But she's in there. She's in the cast, so who knows? We'll see. And finally, the last movie coming out in theaters and on HBO Max is Reminiscence. This is directed and written by Lisa Joy. This is her feature film directorial debut. She is one of the co-creators of HBO's Westworld, so I'm excited for that. Nick Bannister, why did I say Neil? Nick Bannister, played by Hugh Jackman, a private investigator of the mind, and navigates the alluring world of the past when his life is changed by a new client named May, played by Rebecca Ferguson. A simple case becomes obsession after she disappears, and he fights to learn the truth about her. This co-stars Westworld star Thaddeus Newton. Daniel Wu also co-stars in the movie, as does Cliff Curtis, and Angela Serafina, also from Westworld. She plays one of the androids. It's not really a spoiler. She plays one of the androids. And Natalie Martinez also co-stars in the movie. This looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I remember Lisa Joy saying she was gonna direct a movie, and I totally forgot that this was it. And every time I see it, I'm like, oh, that's right, she's doing this. So I'm really excited for this because I'm a huge fan of Westworld, and kind of seeing her, branch out and doing these great things is really cool. And she's working with Hugh Jackman and Thaddeus Newton, Rebecca Ferguson. This cast is great. Daniel Wu's in there. Daniel Wu, I'm a huge fan of Daniel Wu from Into the Badlands. That's where I know him from. He was also in Tomb Raider, but he plays the ship captain who brings her to the island. But I'm looking for. I mean, this looks pretty cool. I don't know if it will. I mean, I'm scared of the execution, because I think the concept sounds pretty interesting. Visually, it looks kind of cool. The whole mystery aspect seems pretty interesting, but I'm just worried that the execution is going to be the thing that makes or breaks this movie. And that's the thing that I'm worried about. Because sometimes you can have a really cool concept and you can miss the execution, and it kind of just ruins the rest of the movie. So hopefully that's not the case for Reminiscence, but we'll see. All right, so those are all your movies. Like I mentioned, Reminiscence, which you can see on theaters and HBO Max, Flag Day, The Prodigy, The Night House, Demonic are all movies you can see in theaters. I'm pretty sure eventually these movies will be hitting the VOD market. And on Netflix, we have Sweet Girl, so you can go watch that. And for all you people, all you parents out there who listen to my show somehow, hey, shout out to you. If you have a kid, or maybe you're babysitting, or you have a niece and nephew that you want to watch a movie with, Paw Patrol, the movie, if you want to sit through that. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. That is all I have for you guys. I want to thank all you guys for listening to the podcast this week, no matter where you're listening to this. Whether you're listening to this on YouTube, whether you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, on Spotify. No matter where you're listening to this, thank you very much. And no matter where you're listening to this, remember to hit that follow button, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you can leave a rating or review on whatever platform you're listening to, please do so. It helps out the podcast in the long run. It makes me feel nice. It makes me feel special, which I need. I am falling apart. So much for listening to the podcast. I appreciate it. I always appreciate it. You guys are great. You guys are awesome. Make sure you have a good, safe, fun weekend, or whenever you're listening to this podcast, week, if you're listening to this during the week. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. I will see all of you guys next week, hopefully. And that's it. Be good people. Be safe. Wear your mask. Continue to wash your hands. Continue to safe distance from each other. And go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!